Nikola Tesla said that he built each one of his inventions in his mind first, then he would build it out here. And of course, this is the famous inventor and the founding father of modern electricity as we know it today. This was his process. He said for every one of his inventions, it never failed him. He would put it together in here. He would put all the pieces and the parts together in here. He would make sure to build it in here. Then he would build it out here. He used his imagination in this way, and it never failed him with each one of his projects. In 2021, I made the decision to move to Spain. And I didn't know Spanish. I had never been to Spain before, actually. I'd never lived in a foreign country. I didn't know anyone there. But I made the decision to move to Spain. And it was very intimidating and scary. But I saw it in here. And I built it in here first. And I did that. I lived in Spain for 2 years. I learned Spanish. I built an incredible friend group from scratch, from absolute zero. I had these incredible experiences of working in 2 different primary schools. I taught English to little Spanish kids, and I lived there for 2 years. When I returned home from Spain in 2023, I wanted to start making money online. This was another thing that was building up in here for the previous years. And I never made any money online before this time. I didn't have any business experience, okay? And it was wildly intimidating and scary, right? But I saw it in here. I built it in here, okay? Over the past year here, I discovered that my marketing service that I was working on wasn't exactly in my long-term plans. And I wanted to get into coaching and making content around this topic of reality creation, because this was much more in alignment with who I was as a person. I didn't have any coaching experience, right? No clients, never had a coaching client. I didn't have any content on the subject, okay? I had never called myself a coach, and I wasn't experienced in any field of study, right, outside of my own study and personal interests and learning. And I saw it in here, okay? And I'm doing that right now. This is what you're watching right now, okay? And in fact, even more interestingly, my first coaching client was a millionaire. My first coaching client was a 7-figure entrepreneur in this digital marketing space, and now a really good friend of mine. So, bless for that one. But interesting. There's this faculty of the mind that we are largely unaware of. And Nikola Tesla knew this. He used it for each one of his inventions and built it in here, so he knew he could build it out here. He built it in here so it could reflect out here. And this is reality creation at its core. So if you follow my work and my coaching, and you're looking for something very practical, you know that this is the thing. I speak about this on my channel all the time. You already know that this is the thing, this faculty of the mind, the same thing where you look across history at great leaders, inventors, influential people, and it's always the mind. It's always about thoughts and seeing things clearly in your mind, seeing the pictures in here, living out the desired experience in here. You build it in here. One of the funny things is we're conditioned to see this one as fake and this stuff is real. We're conditioned to see the material world as real, as the real one, okay, the physical manifestation. And we're conditioned to see the immaterial, the mental, manifestation as fake, right? One is real, one is fake. That's how we're designed to see this. There's also this saying that your mind doesn't know the difference between what is real and what is fake, as if this was the fake one. Right? Because what we're doing here, like Nikola Tesla, we're building it in here so we can build it out here. We build it in here, we see it in here, so the mirror can reflect it out here. There is no real or fake between these two, okay? They're both just as real. The material world and the immaterial world are equally as real, and you got to start seeing it that way. This is exactly what Nikola Tesla was referring to when he said that he would build it in here and then build it out here, because he saw each one of these just as real as the other. There is no real or fake. They're both just as real. And Nikola Tesla knew this, right? So you need to build it in here first. The question is, have you built it in here? And there's very specific practices to do that. You need to train this faculty like a muscle, like you're training a muscle in the gym. And you train it. It needs nourishment. It needs your time, attention, and energy. You need to feed this faculty of your mind and train yourself to see these pictures, live these experiences clearly in your mind. Meditation is just the mental cleaning process in here. Visualization is where you actually build things. Meditation is just the cleaning process. Visualization and imagination is where you build things. That's where the actual work gets done. But you need a clear working space to be able to do that, right? You need to hold your attention for a long period of time so it doesn't break while you're living, while you're building this experience. You're building this thing to take place in your life. So you don't worry if you can't see the things clearly in your mind at first, because you understand that it's a muscle to be trained. It's just your ability to visualize and imagine things clearly is just a muscle that might be atrophied. You train it, you nourish it time and again, and you build it in here. You look to this faculty of your mind. When you hear about these topics of manifestation and reality creation, and it might be kind of confusing, like what do I do, right? This is what you do. And you look at the great leaders of history and you see the common themes. Marcus Aurelius straight up said, a man is what he thinks about, right? A man is what his thoughts are made of. He said something like that. Neville Goddard in the mid-1900s says, imagination creates reality. Nikola Tesla has another quote. He says, if you want to know the secrets to the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Because he viewed these thoughts, his mental state, as a vibration, as a frequency to be on. He viewed his thoughts as frequencies, as energy to creation.